One kid killing the parents is a bad seed. Two kids killing the parents is a bad family.
Would you state your name again for the record, please?
Erik Galen Menendez.
All right, I'll remind you, you're still under oath. You may resume your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Menendez, when we left off yesterday, we were talking about Saturday night, August 19th, 1989. You recall that after the argument with your mother, you and your brother went outside and had another talk. You recall that?
Yes.
And what did you do after the talk with your brother?
I went upstairs to my room.
And did you take the gun with you, or did you leave it?
No, I took the gun.
And had you done anything to change the 2 rounds that you had previously put in the gun?
No.
And when you got up to your room, you put the gun down where?
On the side of my bed.
And you showed us on the photograph yesterday where that was?
Yes.
And then what did you do after you had put the gun down?
I just waited. I waited around my desk. I was looking out the window toward the guest house.
Why?
Just because looking at Lyle gave me a lot of comfort, so I just wanted to see what he was doing.
And do you have any idea how late it was at this point?
1:30 in the morning, maybe 2.
And were you, did you think you were in a condition at that point to go to sleep?
No.
And why was that you didn't think you could go to sleep?
I was real nervous. I was real tense. I was real scared, and I just couldn't get to sleep. My nerves were fried.
Had you gotten undressed? Had you prepared to go to sleep?
No.
And at some point after you were in your room for a while, did you hear something or someone approaching?
Yes.
And what sounds did you hear?
Just footsteps coming toward my room.
And had you locked the door to your room as you previously testified you usually did?
Yes. Oh, yes, I locked the room.
And did you have any indication from the sound of whose footsteps they were?
I didn't know for sure, but I was hoping it wasn't Dad. I was wrong.
You'd rather it were Mom?
Yeah.
And after the footsteps, did you hear something else?
Yeah, my dad started pounding on my door and telling me to open the goddamn door.
And from the voice, you knew it was Dad and not Mom?
Overruled as to the question, but let's not refer to them as your dad and mom. They're his father and mother, so let's refer to them in that context.
Okay. Do you refer to your parents? How do you refer to your parents when you talk about them?
Dad and Mom.
So, could you tell who the person was on the other side of the door?
Yes, it was Dad.
Okay. And what did your father say?
He was pounding on the door and telling me to. He was pounding on the door and with his fist, I guess, and telling me to open the goddamn door.
You have to stay back a little bit. You're popping the mic. Why don't you try to put your back against the back of the chair and keep it there if you could. Okay? All right. And what was your reaction? What did you do, if anything, after you heard your father say, open the door?
I ran toward my gun and grabbed it.
Okay. You had been somewhere else in the room?
Yeah, I was sort of sitting on the desk looking out the window, and the gun was around the side of the desk underneath the bed, and so I just ran around and grabbed the gun.
And what did you do after you grabbed the gun?
I sat on my bed with my gun right across.
Photograph, if I may approach you. And you said you sat on your bed with the gun?
Yes.
Would you circle the area in that photograph where you sat on the bed? No, you have to use the part. And what was your emotional state with your father banging on the door and demanding that you open it?
I was so scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought my dad was going to break down the door. I certainly wasn't opening the door, and I was just holding the gun across my lap, shaking, and I didn't know what was going to happen.
You didn't unlock the door on this occasion?
No.
And why was that? Why didn't you unlock the door on this occasion?
Because I was afraid I wasn't going to let my dad in again. He hadn't talked to me all weekend, and now he was suddenly pounding on my door and yelling, and I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Did the conversation and the argument that you had with your mother earlier that evening have anything to do with your not being willing to open the door?
Sustained.
Was there anything that had happened earlier that evening that contributed to your unwillingness to open the door, or to the way you were feeling, or both?
To the way I was feeling, more than not, but yes, it was partly what Mom said to me, and partly just how my dad was yelling and pounding on the door, and the fact that Lyle was all the way across in the guest house.
Okay, did you, how long did this go on with your father pounding and yelling?
Maybe a minute.
And what was going through your mind during that minute?
What was going through my mind was he was going to break down the door.
And what were you going to do? Were you thinking, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean,
Wait for the question, please. If he broke down the door?
I was going to shoot. I was just going to shoot.
And did you think you would be able to do that?
I really didn't think I'd be able to.
Why not?
I was just frozen. I was shaking, and I knew what he was going to do. Or at least I thought he was going to break down the door. And I was saying, I got to shoot him. I got to shoot him. And I remembered I only had 2 shells in my gun, and I was saying, oh my God, I'm going to die. Because if I miss him or if I hit him, Mom's still in the house, Lyle's all the way in the guest house, and I didn't know what was going to happen.
And were you also said just now that you didn't know that you would be able to shoot him. Did you think if the door had flung open and your father was standing there, what did you think you would or wouldn't do?
I don't know. I was frozen. I don't know what I was going to do.
Did you in fact do anything but sit on the bed holding the gun?
No, I couldn't move.
And eventually, did your father stop pounding on the door?
Yes.
And did he say anything when he stopped?
He said that I was going to have to come out of that room tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
He said I was going to have to come out of that room tomorrow.
And did you hear footsteps, or did he leave, or what?
He left. I don't remember if I heard the footsteps or not, but I didn't know where he was, what he was doing.
And what did you do after that?
I just sat on the bed for a little while, and then looked out toward the guest house to see if I could sort of wave Lyle down, but I couldn't, and I wasn't leaving that room, so I just waited.
Let me ask you something. You heard Detective Zoller testifying yesterday that your room, the windows in your room, don't open to the guest house. Do you remember him saying that?
Yes.
Is he right or wrong?
No, he's wrong.
In fact, your room has windows on 2 sides, or had windows on 2 sides.
Both sides of the desk, one right across from the bed and one right before the bathroom.
And that's on, looking in that photograph, Mr. Menendez, in what direction are the windows? To the left, to the right, or straight ahead?
To the left.
And both of those windows face what direction?
The guest house.
They face east, like towards Maple Drive?
Yes.
And the back of your room, behind the bed, for example, that wall, does that wall face south?
I guess that would be south.
Is there a window on that wall also, the one behind your bed?
Yeah, but it's covered by the bed. It's a long, tall window, and it's covered by the bed.
So there's windows on 2 different walls of the room?
Yes.
When you were sitting on the bed and your father was outside the door, did you have any thoughts about whether or not 2 rounds of ammunition could or couldn't kill someone?
I didn't think it'd be able to kill my dad, but even if it did, I knew my mom had a gun in her room and in her closet, and I thought maybe I'd have to jump out the window. All these thoughts were going through my mind.
How did you know your mother had a gun?
Because she bought the gun the year before.
Did you think there was 1 gun in the house, or did you think there were more than 1 gun in the house?
No, there were 2 rifles and I believed it was a pellet gun, but I knew there were 2 rifles.
You popped a pellet gun, you said?
There was a 3rd gun, I thought, that was a pellet gun.
And was that a long gun, like a BB rifle, or was it a pistol-type pellet gun?
No, it was a long gun.
Now, with respect to one of these rifles, you say that you knew that your mother had purchased it a year before?
Yes.
And how did you know she bought a gun a year before?
Because I was with her.
And where did she buy it?
In Woodland Hills it's right across the street from the Topanga Mall. I think at the time it was called Sports Mart or something like that.
Okay. And how did you come to be with her when she was purchasing a gun?
I don't remember how I came to be with her. We were in her Mercedes. She had a convertible, and she said I had to get something or something like that. And we went into the Sports Mart, and I sort of just wandering around because all the sports things. And she bought the gun. She came out with it.
And you met up with her again outside the store?
I don't remember if I met up with her before, but I remember walking toward the car and asking her what was that, because she had a long box, and she opened it up before she got in the trunk.
And she showed you?
Yes.
And did you, and it appeared to be what? What was in the box?
It was a wooden, partly engraved, brown and black gun, long rifle.
And did you ask her anything about it?
Yeah, I asked her, why'd you buy that?
And what did she say?
She said, I'm going to kill somebody. Actually, she said, I'm going to kill someone.
Someone. And did you ask her who?
No. I had some ideas, though.
Did you ask her why?
No, I didn't ask her a single question after that. She just put it in the trunk.
Well, why wouldn't you ask your mother, or why didn't you ask your mother who she was going to kill or why she had bought a gun?
Because...
Objection, I believe hearsay, Mr. Kennedy goes to state of mind.
Well, the question is, why would he or did he ask the question?
Withdraw the question. But do you... All right, you're with your mother. She's bought a gun. She says she's going to kill someone. Is that right?
Yes.
Was your family the kind of family where you ask each other a lot of questions, communicate a lot?
No, you don't ask each other a lot of questions, especially with my mom, the way she was. She was doing a lot of strange things, and at the time she was really taking her medication heavily. She was taking like 13, 15 pills a day. She was disappearing a lot, and she was going into a lot of her rages often suddenly, and I was afraid of her. I mean, afraid of her outbursts and so on, and the fact that she wasn't completely stable and so on. So I thought I knew why she bought the gun.
Well, did you think she bought it to kill herself, to kill your father, to kill you? What? To kill a stranger? To kill birds? What?
Speculation?
All right, it just will reflect the witness's state of mind, and for no other reason. You may answer the question, what was your state of mind?
Okay, she didn't tell me why. What I thought was that she was either going to kill Louise or one of my dad's other girlfriends, or she was going to kill Dad. I was hoping the latter.
Yeah, you were hoping the latter for your sake, for her sake?
For my sake, so the sex would end.
Now, do you remember the date of this purchase of the rifle by your mother?
I know it was the summer before. I don't remember the date.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection if I showed you the receipt for the purchase of the gun?
Yes.
First of all, Mr. Menendez, let me call your attention to the signature on the bottom of this page. Do you recognize the handwriting?
Yes, it's my mom's handwriting.
And do you recognize this as a receipt for the purchase of a .22 caliber rifle, or .22 caliber gun?
Yes. 6/29/88.
June 29th, 1988.
Yes.
And does that refresh your recollection as to when it was that you were with your mother at a store where she bought a rifle?
Yes.
Now, returning to that Saturday night, you said your thought was that even if you could unfreeze enough to shoot the 2 rounds, that you thought your mother might be right there with the gun that she had bought.
Yes. Well, I didn't think she was right behind the door, but I thought she'd get her gun.
Now, did you telephone your brother to tell him what had happened?
No,
Why not?
because I didn't want my parents to know that I was calling my brother.
And if the phone had rung at that hour of the night, what do you think your parents would have done?
Or they would have picked it up.
Did you ever get to sleep that Saturday night?
Yes.
And when you went to sleep, approximately what time was it?
I'm not sure, maybe 4:30. I was exhausted, and I just fell asleep with my clothes on in the bed. Didn't look at the clock.
And do you recall getting up again later that morning?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what time it was that you got up?
I woke up out of my nightmare, and I just woke up, and I saw that it was daylight, so I just, I don't remember if I took a shower. I'm not sure. I just went over to Lyle's guest house.
Do you know what time you woke up? Yes or no?
No, I don't.
Okay. But after you woke up, first of all, before you went to Lyle's guest house, did you determine whether or not your parents were awake or still in their room or what?
I listened at the door to see if they were outside, and I figured they probably were not outside of it. So I opened it up, and I mean, I can see my parents' windows, but I can't see their bed from my room. I can only see if the light's on or off. And I thought they were probably still inside.
Did you hear any sounds that told you they were outside the bedroom?
No.
So did you leave the house?
Yes.
And did you take the gun with you, or did you leave it in your bedroom?
I put it in my closet.
And did you hide it in some way or conceal it in some way?
Yes.
And then you went to the guest house, and did you see your brother there?
Yes. He opened up the door.
And did you tell him about the night before?
Yes.
About what had happened in your room?
Yeah, I told him what happened with Dad.
And did you then leave the house?
Yes.
And did you have any kind of understanding with your brother about your coming back at any point during the course of the day?
Yeah, I had told him, I believe, that I would come back around noon or somewhere around there.
And what was the purpose of your coming back at noon or somewhere around there?
Partly because Lyle just didn't want to be in the house all day alone, not knowing what my parents were going to do, and partly because I was so worried. I wanted to know if they had talked.
Now, what was the purpose of your brother staying there that day versus you leaving?
So so we wouldn't be together, and the other so that Lyle would be able to stay home and sort of hang around my parents to see any signs, to see what they what kind of mood they were in, whether he thought they were still going to kill us, or whether they were just angry, or whether they actually wanted to talk. Just sort of get a feel, and hopefully start a conversation.
And as of that Sunday morning, was that a sunny day?
It was a sunny day. I wasn't very hopeful that anything was going to happen, though.
Were you fearful that morning, or was it like another sunny day and you didn't want to think about it?
No, I was fearful. I mean, from Saturday night, that was the idea for Lyle to stay home and see if Mom and Dad would talk. But after what happened the night before, I just wanted to get out of the house, and I didn't think that Dad was going to be in too good of a mood.
So you didn't think anything, did you consider whether or not anything had improved in the family?
No, I thought things were getting worse.
And let me go back with you for a moment. From Tuesday night, when you first revealed things to your brother, until Thursday night when your father attacked you, between those 2 days, what was your general emotional state? Before you knew that Dad had been threatened, before Dad came after you, what was your general
Again,
emotional?
let's refer to him as his father and not yours.
No, it certainly wasn't mine.
Okay, then rephrase the question.
What was your emotional state between Tuesday night and Thursday before you were confronted by your father in your bedroom?
I was just real anxious about what the conversation between, before Thursday I got home.
Before Thursday you got home, yes.
Yeah, I was just real anxious about what Lyle's conversation with Dad how it was gonna turn out. I was sort of praying it would turn out well, and worrying that it wasn't.
So you were worried and anxious, is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Now, after Thursday, after the confrontation with your father in your bedroom, did your emotional state change?
After Thursday, yes.
Okay. And how would you describe, and did that emotional state continue throughout from Thursday to Sunday?
You mean the fear? It sort
Is
of
that
went
what
up.
your emotional state was? Was it fear?
Yes.
And was there any point from Thursday night until Sunday when you're leaving the house when you were not frightened?
No.
Now, did the level of fear remain the same at all times during those few days, or did it change, or what?
No, it changed. At times it really shot up, like on Saturday night, or when my mom said what she said, or right before the fishing trip. And other times, like on Friday morning, it dropped, and I thought, this can't be happening, and this isn't happening, and just just tried to push it away.
Did it ever disappear, though, the sense of fear?
Oh, no.
From Thursday night to Sunday night, what was your state of mind with respect to whether or not you thought your parents were going to kill you?
Well, I always thought they were going to kill me.
And was there any change over that period in how soon, how immediate you felt their potential of killing you was between Thursday night and Sunday morning?
Yes.
And up until this point, Sunday morning, at which point did you think their threat of killing you was most immediate?
Right before, the night before, Saturday night.
When your father is outside the door.
Yes.
So you leave home Sunday, and did you come back midday like you had indicated to your brother that you would?
Yes.
And when you came back, was there a conversation with him such as he has testified to, where he told you what he thought was strange and what was going on in the house?
No, I don't believe he had actually gone into the house yet.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, I was saying, Lyle, the whole idea is for you to be able to find out what's going on. And I said, I don't care if you're afraid to go in the house. You got to go in the house. Because if you don't go in the house, we don't know what's happening. And
Did he seem afraid?
yeah, he did not want to go in the house. He was doing his usual stalling and pretending that he had, that he was going to do it, and I thought that he might be scared to do it. Well, I knew he was scared to do it, but
Okay,
so I was just telling him, you got to go in the house, because I wasn't going in.
so did you park somewhere where you believed your car would not be observed?
Yeah, I parked in the back alley.
Is there a fence that separates your property from the alley? A solid fence?
Yeah, well, there's the fence of the tennis court, and then the fence of a walkway, and then the guest house. And there's a long alley that runs all the way down the houses.
If someone is on your property and the fence is there and the gate is closed, could someone see your car from on the property?
No.
Is that why you parked back there?
Well, yes.
Why did you park back there?
Well, so my parents wouldn't know I was home.
And did you leave again after you talked to your brother midday?
Yes.
And did you get home late that night or later that night?
Yes.
Did you get home later than you had told your brother you would?
Yes.
And what was it, what feeling, if any, kept you from getting home earlier?
I just didn't want to be at home, and I just really didn't want to have contact with my dad.
Why? What were you feeling?
I was scared, and I was supposed to meet home around 7:30 or 8 or something like that, and I didn't get home till much later.
And when you did get home much later, did you see your brother again in the guest house?
Yes.
And did you have a conversation with him?
Yes.
And did he then tell you of things that affected the way you felt?
Yes.
And the things that he told you, how did they affect the way you felt? What effect did it have?
It made me realize that something was going to happen.
Well, hadn't you thought something was going to happen all week?
Oh, I thought,
Had you had any similar thoughts over the course of the week?
I knew something was going to happen, but I was hoping that things were going to turn the other way as soon as Lyle had a conversation with Mom or Dad, and he did, and it made me realize that something was definitely going to happen.
Well, based on what Lyle told you, you independently, you're telling us what you independently felt, that in your own mind something was definitely going to happen. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's not that your brother had to tell you that.
Objection, Lee.